Welcome to the City Artist Corps Grant Technical Assistance webinar hosted by Dance NYC. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. I am Milena Luna on the grant making team at Dance NYC, and my pronouns are she, her, hers, and I identify as a Latina, non-disabled woman of Colombian heritage. I'm wearing a beige shirt, I have curly hair, and behind me is a white wall. And I'm currently on Lenape land. With us we're also joined by fellow staff members, Caridad Pincela and Izzy Dow. Additionally, we have a team of accessibility providers. Thank you for being here. They're from SignNexus and the Viscardi Center. Beth Zuref and Alana Aloy from SignNexus will be providing ASL interpretation, and Isela Ibarra and Anabel Fernandez will be providing live captions on behalf of the Viscardi Center. ASL interpretation and closed captioning in English and Spanish will be available throughout today's program. A link to captions can be found in the chat. Speakers will visually describe themselves, and if media is shown, it will be described orally. Additionally, during the Q&A section, we will also be taking questions in Spanish. Before we move forward to today's agenda, a few guidelines for the day. For Zoom, please feel free to post your comments or ask for technical help in the Zoom chat. You can send a message to panelists, which will only go to the production team, or panelists and attendees, which will be available to everyone on the web. We will have a Q&A section, and in that section, if you have questions, you can submit them in the Q&A feature at the bottom of your screen, and we will answer as many relevant questions as time allows at the end of the program. A few more community guidelines. During the program, we ask that everyone abides by our guidelines, which you can find in the chat now. These are important to us, and we thank you for helping us to ensure that our space remains generative for and respectful of our community. We hope you will help us amplify these conversations by reposting, tagging us, and sharing your takeaways on Twitter at dance.nyc, Instagram at dance.nyc, and Facebook. Dance NYC. You can use the hashtags #dance NYC live or hashtag City Corps Arts. We would appreciate you just keeping these conversations and these opportunities available. Now we're going to move forward with a land and historical acknowledgement. As a way of deepening our work and learning in racial justice, we regularly practice land acknowledgements at meetings and public convenings to recognize our country's violent history and its legacy in the space we occupy. This practice is currently under development with the guidance of Indigenous dance artist and activist Emily Johnson to ensure that we embody this allyship. This includes taking actionable steps towards reparations in this initial instance by nurturing relationships with local Indigenous and First Nations artists and organizations, and making pathways for Lenape artists and leaders to return to Lenape-Oking today. I would like to acknowledge that the city of New York is on stolen land, more specifically Lenape-Oking, the unceded homeland of the Lenape people, who are also recognized federally as the Delaware Nation of Oklahoma, Anadarko, Oklahoma, Delaware Tribe of Indians, Bartlesville, Oklahoma, Stockbridge, Munsee Community, Fowler, Wisconsin, and in Canada, Munsee Delaware Nation. Moravian of the Thames First Nation, Delaware of Six Nations, the Lenape people are the original inhabitants and caretakers of this land, and gave Manhattan Island its name, Manhattan, meaning hilly island or place where we go to gather the wood for the bows. Additionally, as we are gathered digitally and inspired by Adrian Wong of Spider Web Show in what is currently called Canada, I invite us to consider the legacy of colonization embedded within the technologies, structures, and ways of thinking we use every day. We are using equipment and high-speed internet not available in many rural indigenous communities that at times leave significant carbon footprints, contributing to climate change that disproportionately impacts indigenous communities worldwide. We acknowledge that changing these inequities are our shared responsibility as our roles in reconciliation, decolonization, and allyship. We recognize that as an organization based in New York City, we have benefited and continue to benefit from the systemic displacement and subsequent erasure of Lenape people and governance on their land. Please join me in taking a moment to recognize and reflect on the centuries of violence, displacement, forced migration, and settlement here, as well as the centuries of resilience and leadership of all Indigenous and First Nations people on Turtle Island that have led to our presence and livelihood in New York City today. Continuing our practice of recognition, we would like to name openly the legacies of the African slave trade, migration and immigration patterns, the disability rights and disability justice movements, and the LGBTQ and fight for justice. These areas and tactics of oppression through which white supremacy and settler colonialism have enacted and sustained its power over time are not the only areas, but rather the main focuses of Dance NYC's ongoing historical acknowledgement, practice, and justice, equity, and inclusion strategy. Lastly, and certainly not least, we would also like to take a moment of silence in remembrance of victims of COVID-19 around the world and acknowledge the Black people whose lives have been taken by actions of white people, institutions, and systems, and the many accomplices, witnesses, and beneficiaries of white supremacy who have actively participated in or stood by and observed in silence. We'll now have a moment of silence. Thank you. Thank you for that moment of observing. We will now move on with today's agenda. This session will last about an hour and a half. We're planning to go through 1:30. And here's the agenda for today. We're going to begin by giving you a quick overview of the City Artists Course program. Then we'll cover who is eligible, the public engagement project grantees need to do, the criteria for making awards, details about the money, the timeline, and how to complete the application form. And we'll leave time for questions at the end. Now let's jump in with an overview of the opportunity. City Artists Corps grants are intended to support NYC-based working artists who have been disproportionately impacted by COVID-19. The program will distribute one-time $5,000 grants to over 300 artists. That's $15 million into the pockets of NYC artists. The grants will help artists sustain their practice and engage the public in the arts. Each grantee will present a creative activity that engages the public in NYC between July and October. And we'll talk more about that later. But know that the grant needs to be spent on that project. Let's start with eligibility. Who is eligible for this grant? To be eligible, you have to meet 4 criteria. First, you have to live in New York City. You also have to be 21 or older, to have a social security number or an individual taxpayer identification number or EIN. And you have to be a practicing artist. Now let's go through these requirements one by one. So you have to be a current resident of NYC and must have maintained residency since at least January 2020. So if you moved to NY after January 2020 or moved away and came back, you are not eligible. It is important that you've maintained your residency. You will also have to provide evidence of residency by uploading an official document that includes your name and address. Note that this document must be from October, November, or December of 2020. Some examples of acceptable documents include a utility bill, bank statement, credit card statement, residential lease, a roommate's agreement, rent receipt, studio lease, a valid government ID, or another form of official documentation listing your name and address, so long as that document is dated October, November, or December 2020. So if you're going to present a utility bill, a bank statement, or rent receipt, it cannot be from this month. It must be from last October, November, or December. You can use your driver's license or ID NYC only if it was issued in October, November, or December of 2020. You must be 21 or older as of June 8, 2021. You'll need to provide a government issued ID that includes your birth date. This can be a passport, driver's license, ID NYC, or another document issued by the state. You must have a social security number, individual taxpayer identification number, or an employer identification number. Finally, you must be an artist with a sustained, let's go back. Yes, very important. So finally, you must be an artist with a sustained, ongoing commitment to your creative practice and be able to demonstrate that. What's great about this opportunity is that artists in all disciplines are eligible. These include craft and textile artists, including those working in ceramics, glass, wood, metal, fiber, and mixed media. All forms of dance and choreography, also community arts, design and architecture, including environmental and functional design, digital and electronic arts, folk and traditional arts, interdisciplinary work, literary arts, including fiction, nonfiction, poetry, playwriting, and screenwriting, music and sound, including musicians and composers working in any and all styles of music. Theater and performance, including directing, live action and puppetry, video, film of all forms, and visual arts, including painting, photography, printmaking, drawing, and sculpture. Grantees can work with other artists, collaboratives, or organizations on their public engagement projects. But funds will be awarded to individual artists only. You can only apply as an individual, not on behalf of a collective or an organization. When you apply, you will need to demonstrate that you are an artist with an active practice. You'll need to provide documentation of your creative work from 2019, 2020, or 2021. This could be a work sample, such as slides of visual art you made, publication of literary work you wrote, a program from a performance or exhibition, a news item or press release. If you don't have any of those, you could include a brief letter from a producer, presenter, director, or curator that you worked with, stating the project you took part in. Remember, this needs to be from 2019, 2020, or 2021. Also, be certain to include the date of the work sample. We're told that many applications are ineligible because the work sample is not dated or is not from 2019, 2020, or 2021. In addition, you also need to upload a resume or CV. Or if you don't have any of those documents, you can enter a brief bio of up to 300 words. Be sure that this resume, CV, or bio describes your artistic work from 2019, 2020, or 2021. Few other points about eligibility. Applicants cannot be enrolled in a degree seeking program. Cultural workers such as stage managers, art handlers, curators, and others are not eligible for this grant. However, cultural workers who have their own artistic practice outside of their professional work are eligible to apply. They must show documentation of their personal practice rather than documentation of their professional practice to demonstrate they are an active artist. Also, employees of the City of New York Foundation of the Arts, or any partnering organization supporting the City Artists Corps are not eligible. This includes board members of these organizations and immediate family members. So to recap eligibility, If you answered yes to all 4 of these questions and these bullet points here, and if you are not a student in a degree seeking program, not an employee of NYC, and not an employee, board member, family member of one of the partner organizations, then you are eligible. So let's move forward with the public engagement requirement. As part of your application, you must propose a creative activity that will engage the public. The activity must have an arts or creative focus. It must occur within the 5 boroughs of New York City. And it must take place before October 31, 2021. If you are awarded, you have from the moment you received your award notification until October 31, 2021 to complete it. Artists are strongly encouraged to present a live event. However, artists with disabilities and those who are immunosuppressed, from whom it is not safe to engage in live in-person performance, can propose a live virtual activity. Your public engagement activity can occur indoors or out. It also must be free. The event can, however, be ticketed if it needs to be for space or public safety reasons. For example, if your indoor venue has limited capacity, you can require registration and tickets to attend, but you cannot charge for those tickets. Let's go over types of eligible creative engagement activities. Among these, it can be a live performance, such as a concert, play, reading, a recital, an open rehearsal, a public screening of a film or other media work. It can be an art exhibition in a community center or other public or private venue, including an apartment gallery or that kind of setup. You can also have a live art making experience, such as painting a mural. You can have a workshop, an artist talk, a demonstration, or a studio tour. There are really no limits to what form this can take. The takeaway here is that it does not have to be elaborate or expensive. It should be free for the public. Your public engagement activity can be part of an established or recurring program that is already planned. Can be featured as part of an existing festival or program that is already set to take place this summer or fall. Or it can be a new event that will be independently scheduled. Also, more than one artist can apply for the same project. So if you and a partner each apply, you might both get the grant, or only one of you might get the grant. Your projects can also involve other artists, and you might pay them for their participation, but the grant is only to the one artist who is applying. These creative engagements do not need to feature new work. It can be a restaging, an exhibition, a showing, a reading, a screening, or demonstration of work you have previously created. It does not need to be a final production or a completed product. Remember, accessible types of public engagement activities include a studio tour, an open rehearsal, a workshop, artist talk, or a demonstration. You do not have to have all of the logistics resolved before you apply. It is okay if you state time and place to be determined. Additionally, if you're awarded a grant, there will be help available to find a venue to host your project or to obtain a permit for performing in a public space. Grantees will have to do the legwork. This won't be done for you, but there will be assistance and resources provided to help you find a venue or obtain a permit. Lastly, grantees will need to document their project by submitting a simple final report, including 2 photographs of your public engagement activity. Now let's move forward with the evaluation criteria. Let's talk about how applications will be evaluated and the criteria for awarding grants. Cycle 1, which has already occurred, and Cycle 2 are a weighted lottery that will take into account zip codes, hardest hit by the pandemic, annual household income, and disability status. Cycle 3 will also be a weighted lottery. It takes into consideration some additional factors in order to distribute funds equitably to those who have been most impacted by the pandemic. Those factors will include not only zip code, income, and disability status, but also race and ethnicity, gender identity, sexuality, country of origin, and language in which the application was submitted. Artistic discipline would be another requirement. Applications will not be evaluated on the artist's talent or achievement. This is important to note. You need to meet the eligibility criteria by demonstrating that you are an artist with an active practice. Beyond that, don't sweat making the case for your talent or achievement. This application is not an audition. Applications will not be evaluated on the quality or originality of the artistic engagement activity you propose. You will, of course, want to make a meaningful contribution to the City Arts Corps' goal of creating many opportunities for New Yorkers to encounter the arts this summer and fall. You will want to engage the public in a way that is satisfying and meaningful to you and your audience. But keep in mind that proposing an elaborate or novel project will not increase your odds of being selected. The process is in part a lottery and in part designed to distribute funds to communities hardest hit by the pandemic. It is not an audition or a contest. No one will be judging the quality of your work. Okay, now let's talk about the money. We mentioned earlier that City Artists Corps will distribute $5,000 grants to over 3,000 artists. That is a total of more than $15 million for New York City artists. All the grants are the same amount, $5,000. Grantees will get $4,000 up front and the final $1,000 when they submit their final report. The application does not include a budget. You're not asked to state how you will spend the money in your final report. You will not be asked to report on how you use the funds. If you're awarded a grant, you can spend the money any way you want. You can use it for the public engagement activity, but you do not have to. This is a great opportunity. Now we'll do a quick overview of the timeline and deadlines. The City Artist Core Grants are being allocated in 3 cycles. Cycle 1 opens on June 8th and closes on June 22nd. If you applied in that cycle, you will be notified whether you received an award on July 2nd. Cycle 1 grantees can present their publication engagement activity from July 10 to October 31, 2021. Cycle 2 opens on July 6th and closes on July 20th. Cycle 2 grantees will be notified on August 2nd. Cycle 2 grantees can present their public engagement activity from August 20 to October 31st. Cycle 3 will open on July 27th at 10 a.m. and it will close on August 10th at 10 a.m. as well. This is the last cycle, and grantees will be notified on August 25th, and they can present their public engagement activity from September 3rd to October 31st. If you submit an application that is eligible and you are not awarded a grant, you will automatically be included in the next cycle, so long as your proposed project date is flexible or still eligible for the next cycle. So if you applied in cycle 1 and you did not get the grant, so long as your application was eligible and the date of your project is after August 20th or listed as flexible, you will be automatically included in cycle 2. Similarly, if you are not awarded a grant in cycle 2, so long as your application was eligible and the date of your project is flexible or after September 3rd, you will be included in the pool for cycle 3. You cannot submit another application. It may be wise to consider a project with flexible dates. This is highly recommended. Or dates that occur later, so that if you are not funded in cycle 2, you will move forward to cycle 3's lottery. All creative engagement activities must take place by October 31st, 2021. Every grantee will be required to submit a final report by November 21st. We're told that the report form is very simple. It needs to include 2 photographs of your public engagement activity. So don't forget to snap some pictures with your phone or have a colleague or a friend do that. You will also need to include an attendance estimate. You won't get the final 1,000 of your grant until you submit your final report. Let's move forward. We're going to talk about how you apply. Applications are being accepted online through Submittable. If you already have a Submittable account, you'll be able to log in. Otherwise, you will need to create a Submittable account, which is free, and just requires an email address. Before you begin, pull together the things, all the items you'll need to apply so that you can be prepared. Proof of New York City residency, your proof of age, your resume, CV, or writing a brief bio. Also, the documentation of your creative practice in 2019, 2020, or 2021. And be prepared to describe your proposed public engagement project. To apply online, you'll need a computer, an internet connection. You'll need to upload scanned copies of documents. Submittable does allow you to save your application as a draft and come back later to finish it. It is okay to have help completing the application. If an artist cannot do it themselves, a family member, friend, or a support person may apply on behalf of an artist who is unable to complete the application on their own. It is not a complex application. Applicants have taken about an hour to complete it, having gathered all items in advance. Here are some useful links, also will be popped in the chat. And I also want to take the moment to highlight that the application is also available in multiple languages, and additional assistance is also available in different languages. You can find all of these different technical assistance offerings in the guidelines webpage. Dance NYC will hold a virtual one-on-one technical assistance session via Zoom in English and Spanish for application cycles 2 and 3. Registration will be on a first come, first served basis, and applicants will be able to register for either a 20-minute session or a 40-minute session. And I will give more detail about that after the demo of the application. Well, we'll now go on submittable and go through the application. Okay, so when you go on the NYFA website, and you'll see that this is the City Artists Corps grants page. Provides background information on what the grant is about, the launch of this program, and who is providing the support, which is from the Department of Cultural Affairs, with support from the Mayor's Office of Media and Entertainment.
Hey, Melina, could you just, I think you're covering your mic a little bit.
Is that better for everybody?
That's great. Thanks.
Thank you. Okay, so yes, we are here on the City Artists Corps grants page on the NYFA website. And you'll scroll down and it'll speak more about some of the items, all of the items that we just went through, and requirements for eligibility. You can find all this information here in writing. It also details all the application cycles. And when you want to apply and you're ready to apply, you hit apply now. And you also see that the application is available in several languages. Once you hit apply now, this page will open up, and this is the submittable page. This is what you will see once you are logged in. Before that, you will be asked to create an account. And as mentioned, all you need is an email address. So here we are on the actual application page. Again, there's some background information on the grant opportunity and details on the cycles. Some more information on providing assistance to all of those who are applying. And other items, all of the items that are required for the application. You scroll down. So here is where you would start, and you would click if you are, I am applying as an individual artist or on behalf of an individual artist. So you just check that box. Oops. You enter your name. Your street address, your city, zip code. Make sure you enter your borough, your email address, and your contact phone number. If you have an artist page, you would include that here. And if someone is helping you to complete this application, they would click on yes, I am assisting someone to apply, and a few additional questions will pop up, which is basically them just entering their first, last name and their email. If you are not receiving support in completing the application, you just click no. And then you move forward to your creative practice as an artist and respond to or click on the artistic discipline that best reflects your current practice. And you can only click on one. You will only be able to choose one. I will note that if you are a dance artist or a theater artist that is primarily showing folk or traditional arts, you can apply in either category. Then here is where you will be asked to upload a summary of your creative practice. You can only complete one of the following: either upload your CV or resume, or you write a short artist biography, no more than 300 words. And if you click upload, and it gives you the opportunity to upload your file or drag it in. So example of your creative process, you must complete one of the following. First option is providing an example of a past public engagement. Second one is supplying a recent work sample, which are images, videos, audio, or manuscripts of your creative practice. Or you can supply a letter of reference from a past curator or community arts organizer. You can upload a letter or screenshot of an email. For any of these items, you will notice that the acceptable file types are JPEG. So let's say you don't have a scanner. You can absolutely take a photograph as long as it's viewable and it's clear. You can take a photo with your phone and upload it as a JPEG. The other options are providing a direct link online to a news article or press regarding your work from the past 2 years. Now we'll move forward. City Artist Corps Grant Creative Public Engagement section. This is the section where you will propose the activity that you have planned. This section, all the questions here relate to what you will be planning to present as part of the City Artist Corps Grant Initiative in the 5 boroughs. And remember, this is for activity that must happen before or by October 31, 2021. And your public engagement outline has a limit of 250 words. So short, concise. I am this artist. I propose doing a dance performance at my local park. This will be free, and you can add in other information on this date, but you have flexible dates. Be simple, be clear, be concise. Would you like to request to present your activity online? You click yes. Then there are additional questions. Please note that artists from whom it is safe to host live in-person activities are encouraged to do so. If you click no, then that's fine. That's basically for those people that are artists with disabilities or suppressed. Do you plan to work with other artists to present this creative public engagement activity? Yes or no. Yes, I plan to work with other artists. And then here, very important note, which we went over, is that artists must apply as an individual. And if multiple artists are coming together to present a collaborative, they can all apply individually with the same activity proposal. But there is no guarantee that you or your collaborating artists will be selected through the lottery process. This is where you enter your proposed creative public engagement date. If you are still to confirm your activity date, you can indicate that the date you are working towards. If you're planning to present over multiple days, please indicate the starting date here. All activities need to be completed by October 31st, and make sure that your date is flexible. Then we also ask that you inform us how you plan to promote your creative public engagement, which is basically letting us know your marketing and promotion efforts. If you're going to be using social media, share handles here. You're going to be putting up the engagement on a bulletin board. Just let us know how you're getting the word out there. And here is where you choose the type of creative public engagement. Art making workshop, artist talk. There's several different options that you can choose from here. If you click other, then you will have an opportunity to define what that means. And you will be asked which borough your activity will be taking place at. And here is a list. Just choose from the drop down. You have to include your zip code as well. You just type that in. And then you have to confirm your engagement location type, whether it's you're partnering or presenting with a venue. And if that's confirmed, or if you've partnered and presenting with the venue, but that's unconfirmed, meaning you're still solidifying where it's going to take place or solidifying a contract, There's the other options of coordinating the engagement on your own in a public or private location. You can also, as mentioned, be presenting as part of a festival, presenting online, and if it's other, again, you must specify. And if it's unsure, you would just have to give us that information later on. But we do recommend that you let us know in advance and choose one of these options. Additionally, you have to confirm the number of artists that will participate in your creative public engagement. And you must include yourself in this total. So moving on to the residency portion and the proof of age. All eligible applicants need to be a current resident of New York City, as we mentioned, and this is where you would upload the documentation of your New York residency. Remember, it has to be from October, November, or December 2020. And as you noticed before, there are several acceptable file types. And this section is the proof of age, where you would be uploading a copy of your government issued ID or passport with photo and date of birth. And ID NYC, as mentioned, is also acceptable. In this following section, it's demographics that we'd like to learn. Since this program is intended to support NYC-based working artists, we would like to collect demographic information that allows us to ensure that the pool of recipients reflect the artists that have been impacted disproportionately by COVID-19. The commitment is that we want to support artists of all backgrounds and disciplines, and we want to continue towards honoring values of equity, diversity, inclusion, and accessibility across all programs. And that's why when you complete the section, it helps us to continue to do that work. So here, you will choose which gender you most identify with. And then you choose from this who you consider yourself to be. And you also have to select how you describe yourself as, and if you identify yourself as someone with a disability. Additional demographic information is your country of origin. Say if you are from South America, Brazil, and you write Brazil. If you are from Europe, you write European country. You also have to select your annual household income in 2020. And this is the last section. And to complete, you have to make sure to click on that by submitting a City Artist Corps grant application, you affirm that this demographic information that you're providing is true and verifiable to the best of your ability. And then you just click submit. And as mentioned earlier, you can also save a draft and come back to it. Okay, so that is the section we have finalized our online demo of the application, and we will be opening it up again. Well, let's go back to Zoom and we will open it up for questions. Please submit your questions using the Q&A feature located in your Zoom menu bar. We will just wait a second until folks pop up their questions, if any. I'm also taking questions in Spanish. Just wait one more minute here. So I see there's a question in the chat. So this is from Danielle Sharp. I'm planning an event for late August, but there's a chance it might happen before August 20th. If we get the grant for cycle 2, but the event happens before August 20th, what happens? So there's a chance it might happen before August 20th. Let's just double check the dates for cycle 2. So cycle 2 dates, your engagements, yeah, they must be, if you're awarded for cycle 2, they must be between August 20th to October 31st. Unfortunately, if this is why we ask folks to have an event that has a flexible date. You can also propose that is something that I recommend. You can propose that in your put that within your proposal for your event. But the engagement dates for cycle 2 do start on August 20th. Not sure if there are any other questions. You could pop it in the Q&A chat box, our regular chat box. We'll give folks one more minute. Okay. I just want to remind you all that if you did not type in your question here, that you can sign up for a virtual one-on-one session. If you need additional support, you can sign up. We're going to put the links in the chat. As mentioned before, Dance NYC is offering one 20-minute session for one-on-one support, and this is included, but not limited to answering questions about eligibility and required materials, etc. We're also offering a 140-minute session assisting with the completion of the application on Submittable. But priority for these 40-minute sessions will be given to disabled applicants and/or applicants who do not have access to Wi-Fi and or computer for the purposes of submitting the application. Additionally, you can sign up for one-on-one technical assistance sessions provided by other partner organizations, and you can find that on the New York Foundation for the Arts website. You can also visit their frequently asked questions. if your question was not answered today or if you did not ask it. You can also submit your questions that are not addressed on the frequently asked questions page by email to the City Artists Corps at dance.nyc. You can put that on in the chat. Would be great. Again, that's City Artists Corps at Dance NYC. We wish you good luck. Thank you for being with us at this webinar and joining us this afternoon. Any resources shared today will be posted on the bottom of the opportunity page on dance.nyc. And will also be included in our follow-up email to registrants later this week or even this afternoon. This conversation is also going to be saved on Dance NYC's YouTube channel for future reference and will be available on our website beginning on July 15, 2021 by 12 p.m. So if there's something that you'd like to just review, go over again, you'll be able to see this webinar on our website. We ask that you fill out a post-event survey. You'll be receiving an email about that, and to tell us how our programming did today and how we can continue to serve you best. Finally, I just want to share gratitude. Thank you so much to Beth Zurif and Alana Loy, our ASL interpreters from SignNexus, Isela Ibarra and Annabelle Fernandez, who provided our live captions on behalf of the Viscardi Center, and Caridad Quincela and Izzy Dow, our production team. Thank you all for joining us. And best of luck on the application. Spread the news.